Welcome to Internet Capital, episode 10, shooting today from the heart of the Texas Stock Exchange, Travis County, Texas, near Austin. Ben, how are you today?
I'm great. It's a good day. We have a lot of news. Markets are down, unfortunately, and we have some people to blame for that, I think, but it doesn't make much sense to me. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
Have some other cool news, too. We're going to talk a little bit about gaming, which you were still fudding, but it's up-and-coming space getting a lot of funding, some more Pudgy penguins, which I know you love also. So
I love the mini Pudgies, the little Pudgies.
The little Pudgies?
Little Pudgies.
Yeah.
I'm close pulling trigger.
I think they're up like 50% since you were hating on the...
I found one that I liked.
Really?
Yeah, red hat guy.
That's
or
true.
Penguin.
Hey, if you guys think you should get a Pudgy, comment below. We're going to make him buy one. Bully him into it. But...
Hey, I think before we go, though, you should talk a little bit about the newsletter and how we're getting some more traction there. We want all you guys to subscribe to that on Beehive, and we'll get a link out to that. Also, we're available on Apple Podcasts now, on Spotify, on iHeart. Everywhere. And we had our first Indian subscriber, so we're actually the global leader. Global leader of Internet Capital is in India. I don't know what that made sense or not, but
no, that's okay. We love having a global fan base, if you will, fans all over the globe. So
there
we're
are
excited
Internet
about
capitalists
that.
everywhere.
Welcome.
Yes.
But
namaste.
Yeah, but the newsletter has lots of great insights. So we'll do markets every week. We'll do like a topic of the week, something that's trending in crypto. Mm-hmm. We'll do trade or portfolio management tip/strategy. So for this week, for example, I'm giving you a sneak peek. Maybe this will come out a bit before. But we're talking about pair trading and the concept of trading pairs. So whenever you're trading, you can trade like ETH against Bitcoin or ETH against USDC, which is not the same as trading it against actual US dollars. That's like a key distinction. So you'll learn something there. Then we go over a protocol for you to use, just so something new is on your radar, plus a lot of other fun stuff. So highly recommend.
Absolutely. And again, I think this week maybe some bigger news coming out we want to share with you, but that's under wraps for now.
Mm-hmm. Stay tuned. Okay, so we'll do markets. While I pull this up, please explain how you feel. I know you were very frustrated.
Yeah, I've been frustrated with crypto Twitter or whatever it is.
Their reaction to the markets?
They there's outflows from this trust. Everyone fuds the ETH saying it's going down, going to hell, going to zero. These maxis on each side take these extreme views. It just is so frustrating. And in essence, they have no idea what they're talking about. They know nothing. Most of them are wannabes that have not made billions of dollars. So instead, we should all follow people like Larry Fink, who actually has made billions of dollars and has $10 trillion under management. And my opinion is if he thinks these are good enough to invest in, then you should at least consider his opinion more so than all the ding-dongs on crypto Twitter.
Yeah, I agree, and I do think that you should understand what game you're playing. We talk about this a lot, because what you see on crypto Twitter is typically very short term. People are saying, what's going to return the most over the next 3 months? And they try to play these cycle games. So they say, like, gaming is the next narrative, and they'll swap into gaming tokens, and those will outperform for 3 months, and then they'll go to the next thing. If you're playing that game, sure, listen to these short-term people who are saying ETH doesn't have the narrative right now, which I think is wrong. They have their reasons. But if you're an investor, you should follow the guys who are legitimate investors and the people who do deep research, like Larry Fink, like others. So that's my take there. But let's just talk about the chart. So obviously everyone was super depressed because
is that the 15-minute chart?
No, it's not. It's the weekly chart. Weekly candles. First time seeing these?
Yes, I haven't seen those much.
Yeah, but so we had obviously the huge sell-off. We looked like a double top here for a while, but we've recovered again, right above the previous all-time highs at $69,000 per Bitcoin. So there's really nothing to be scared about. I mean, interest rate cuts are looming in the next year or two. I think the political landscape will influence how crypto and other risk-on assets perform in the coming months. But generally, a bullish setup. I don't know how everyone is or was so depressed when we're at these levels.
Yeah, I think pushing out the positives could lead to in a macroscopic sense, a longer bull market. Everyone's talking about rate cuts are going to happen now, the ETFs, blah, 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 all that stuff. Well, what's ended up happening is we've got the ETFs, but no rate cuts. We're going to get rate cuts that are going to be probably extended over a year or two. No matter who wins the election, I think there's going to be significant changes in regulatory climate to crypto.
There have been. I think those are, it's a done deal. Like, we basically turned the corner.
Yeah,
which is like, even just a few months ago, that was still on the horizon. We were being attacked by Gary Gensler every single day with this draconian regulations on how they're approaching the technology. And now both parties have seemed to flipped bullish because they found out that crypto actually has voting power and they have money. So that's what we were saying months ago, and that's actually the case now, and that's played out.
Yeah, and I think a third thing that I really didn't know much about till the last 2 weeks, and I still don't know a lot about, but there's this, I don't want to call it groundswell yet, but there's mumbling of Bitcoin being added to the U.S. Strategic Reserve. Now, I think it takes a lot more than crypto Twitter guys saying that, but imagine if a country that's not the U.S., but it's also not El Salvador decides to do this, that can buy more, and how that's going to buoy the market and further legitimize it. You know, South American countries start, more Brazil, Argentina. What if Saudis decide to use their sovereign wealth fund to buy Bitcoin? Those sorts of macroscopic things are way more important than any of this stuff on the chart.
100%, I agree. And I think Bitcoin is, like, you can knock Bitcoin. I'm not even the biggest Bitcoin maxi. Like, I like Bitcoin. But it might be the greatest macro reserve asset of all time. Because of these characteristics it has. It's no one controls it. It's not like you hold U.S. dollars in reserve. We saw with the sanctions on Russia, that money was gone. If it's in an American-controlled, American-adjacent bank account, those aren't actually reserve assets because they can be confiscated. And Bitcoin is global. It's like gold, so it has all of those safeguarded properties in terms of you can't confiscate it, except it's digital. So it's much more easily transferable. You can send it across the globe, and it has all these tailwinds behind it. And just over the longer term, the game theory between nations plays out. If you want to store your wealth, you should probably do it in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I think that'll continue playing out, and that's like the 10, 20-year narrative behind the whole space that is missed by a lot of people, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, here's the ETH chart. Honestly, still pretty depressing chart, which is kind of sad. Like, we have a bit to go before all-time highs that we saw last cycle, and I think we get there quick. I think we see the same thing now once we get rid of these grayscale outflows, ETH outflows. I think we're going to see the same thing we saw with Bitcoin, with this very structural demand from people wanting the ETFs. Because we'll get into the numbers, but it seems that there's consistent buying demand from institutions.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, we'll get to this later, but there's more demand for the ETH ETF than expected, in spite of ginormously higher amount of grayscale outflows than predicted at this point. So that's still all playing out, and I'm very positive on that as well.
Yeah, 100%. Last chart, just mention it quick. We want to move on. But total 3 chart, we mentioned this a month ago probably. This is the market cap of all crypto coins, the entire market, except for Bitcoin and ETH. So it's a really good index of how altcoins, quote unquote, are performing. And the chart doesn't look great either, which is interesting, which I think we've said this from the beginning. It's very going to be the major focus bull run. So it's going to be Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, and a couple others. And maybe the altcoins get their moment again, but no indications from the chart that we're going anywhere at the moment. So I think that happens at the tail end of the bull market, after we get rate cuts, after we get the majors hitting all-time highs for a consistent period of time.
Absolutely.
So that's the last thing on that. So yeah, let's I'll read these notes here. So quick disclaimer, these notes we're in a time crunch this week, so we fed our resources into ChatGPT to do all of our show notes, and this is what it spit out.
Yeah, and I was the ChatGPT wrangler, and I'm not quite as experienced, so what you have is what you get this week. But some of this stuff is pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. So we'll just pull up an article from the block, which is legitimate source. And so spot ETH ETF started trading on Tuesday. You can buy it, tax advantage accounts. It's legitimate. No more knocking it. It's fantastic. I remember people were saying just a few months ago it wasn't going to happen. Well, they were wrong, so it's here, and that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's exciting.
And we'll get to this in the notes, but I think day one ETF flows were 83%, or top 3 days were 83% of Bitcoin's flows by...
That's the inflows number. So just not net flows. inflows were 83% of Bitcoins.
Right.
But the net inflows were 107 or 108 million. Because those inflows were offset by ETH selling pressure from people wanting to exit those positions.
Yeah, I think ETH has sold almost 15% of their ETH in 3 days. $1.5 billion of ETH hit the market, and I don't have the daily chart in front of me, but I think in spite of that, from when it went live to now, the market is neutral or maybe even a little higher. So I think that's a very, very good indicator that there are buyers out there to support the price. And in spite of probably the largest selling spree in history, have been able to absorb that.
Yeah, I think there's demand from the institutions. BlackRock did a great job selling this, as did others, Bitwise, Fidelity, all the other large asset managers. There's demand here, and again, same thing we mentioned last time, but investors nowadays love tech plays. They love the Mag 7. They love growth. They understand growth stocks. And that's what's been driving stock market returns. So they hear, oh, here's like a tech platform that's the decentralized alternative to like your big tech companies. That just resonates. That's all you have to say. And they're like, you're not owning the entire tech market if you're not owning ETH. And that's a big story that's resonated, I think.
Yeah, ETH is, there's AI plays. There was Web 2 plays 10 years ago. ETH is the tech play on money, and there's nothing bigger than money.
Yeah.
So, I think that's the narrative. And, after 3 days anyway, and we're not to the end, but after 3 days, it's held up quite well. We'll see where it goes in the next week, and we'll get back to you next week on that.
Yeah, but just for the first day stats, so it was like 107 million net inflows. The next couple of days were net outflows, mostly because of the ETH grayscale selling pressure and just because market sentiment was down, but we since recovered a bit and people are feeling no longer bearish or kind of bullish again, but it flips every 2 days, so whatever. But the thing is, the volume was huge. The volume was over $1 billion, which just shows there's interest in trading this thing, which is like the worst thing that we could have gotten was apathy. No one cares about it,
right.
And that did not happen, and that's extremely bullish.
Hey, and Ben, I want to give a shout out. The guys at Bitwise, I had never heard of them, honestly.
Yeah.
I'd heard of BlackRock, Fidelity, all those. They're doing a really nice job making their niche in this crypto space. So shout out to those guys.
Yeah, they had the good ads. Matt Hogan's I think he's CEO there, but I heard him on BandClose this week talking about like their approach with how they're trying to appeal to crypto natives, and also he was talking about the number of meetings they do with financial advisors in the United States, and it's like it's thousands, tens of thousands a year. They're sitting down explaining the technology, and they're super crypto native, donating a percentage of the ETF fees to the protocol Guild, which supports developers in the Ethereum ecosystem. So yeah, shout out to them for sure.
Love that.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. Enough for that. We'll link some resources in the description.
All right, Ben, this next one, I asked you the question why this mattered, but there's an article that came out this week that basically said stablecoins have increased by $1.5 billion in like a week, in 7 days. There it is. And I'm like, well, why does this matter? So why does this matter?
Okay, well, because if you have crypto dollars on a blockchain, it's what are you going to do with that? Well, you can get a yield through like these decentralized money markets, but typically billions are a little much, and you'll dilute the yield, so you can't get much. And also, you can still buy U.S. Treasuries at like 5% in money market funds. So it's like if you want dollar yields, you probably just stay in your brokerage account, right? So you want dollars on a blockchain to do what? To buy crypto assets. So it's a big deal because this could potentially be a bullish catalyst. When we see the supply of stablecoins go up, it's typically followed by bullish market movements.
So this is people converting U.S. dollars to USDC or USDT.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these will be newly created stablecoins by Tether Limited and Circle.
Gotcha.
And yeah, just those are cash printing businesses too. Circle, I'm gonna buy Circle stock whenever it goes live. That is a business right there. And people say like their margins are gonna get compressed over the coming years because people are going to launch products that basically pass some of the yield back to users. So what they do is take your dollars, buy treasuries, keep all the yield. People are going to pass some of that yield back to users, and they'll get squeezed.
Tonto coin.
Okay, we're not going to talk about Tonto coin.
I think Tonto coin could do that. All right.
Tonto, yeah, we need developers. So if you're a developer, you want to build Tonto coin to help.
No, don't send us your resume.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's an interesting thing. Stablecoins are great. I think one last point on this on stablecoins. People are like, oh, what's the point of crypto? Well, it's like for people in other countries who need to send remittances, they charge insane fees because the tech that the banks and the payment providers run on is so old that they have to communicate with each other. It's not efficient, and they end up paying like 10, 20, 30% fees. And for like people in developing nations sending money back to their families, this is big. Like that's a lot of money. Yeah. And people are using this to send dollars back to their family at home through remittances at much cheaper rates. So stablecoins are great. It really is like a killer use case for crypto. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Absolutely.
Oh, this is a big one. So next topic, I'll pull this up. You want to start on this? But so I'll say it. Yeah. But IBIT, which is Bitcoin's or BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, passed the QQQ, which is the biggest ETF that benchmarks the Nasdaq, I believe.
Is that Vanguard?
Might be Vanguard. Yeah, Vanguard's. Okay, it's a total stock market ETF, not a stock guy, sorry. But total stock market ETF. It passed it in year-to-date net inflows, which is nuts. So the biggest crypto ETF just passed the biggest stock market broad-based index ETF in terms of inflows. Just pretty crazy.
That's very crazy.
Like, crypto ETFs are a killer feature, I think, for these TradFi folks.
Yeah, and related to this, I think I read that somewhere like 17 of the top 20 ETF launches have now been in Bitcoin or ETH. Yeah. Which is ridiculous across all ETF launches.
Yeah, Bitcoin was the biggest of all time. Yeah. And then ETH, people were comparing ETH to Bitcoin, which it held up pretty well compared to Bitcoin. But it was in the top 99.9% of all ETF launches ever, if you just compare it generally. So.
And the other thing about this that I hope wakes some people up at Vanguard is their flagship ETF just got bypassed by crypto, and they still refuse to let people invest. And Vanguard, I've been with you 20 years. I know what I'm doing. Please let me invest.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They're punching air right now. They were like, I bet they were fighting these things behind closed doors. Because, they had to talk to their clients, and they had to bring up questions whenever, like, hey, BlackRock's launching this Bitcoin thing. Like, are you guys going to do that? Like, what do you think? They were like, oh, no, like, we're not doing that. What do you think? They were fighting us the whole time.
Yeah, they were.
Not cool.
So I took my money out.
Yeah, not
went
cool.
somewhere else.
Yeah, losing business. They fired the CEO because of that.
Yeah,
they did. That?
They did. They hired a BlackRock guy.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe they'll change.
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. Gaming, baby.
Oh,
so
boy.
NPC Labs, which is a crypto gaming studio, raised $21 million from Pantera Capital. Our good man Dan Moorhead, super great investor in the space. Other investors included Makers Fund, Hashed, Miranda Ventures, and several others. But it's a GameFi infrastructure startup started by 3 former Coinbase employees. Yeah. So they're trying to accelerate gaming development on Coinbase's Layer 2 network base. So this is big. More money going into the space, supported by Coinbase on the base chain. Any thoughts here? Are you becoming more turned over to?
So I realized that I play more games than anyone else in my family, which is like shocking to me to understand that. The games I've played on crypto have been like in the Linnea game thing. Generally, to put it bluntly, they all sucked. So if these guys can make it better, I think there's definitely a place for that. If I can get paid to play my game and do that, 100% will do that. The thing that I like about this, though, is another macro. All of these L2s now are sort of, and even L1s are sort of identifying themselves as something.
It's a culture.
It's a culture. And base is a retail culture, and maybe gaming is part of that. Like legit gaming is part of that. Optimism Superchain has all these similar things where Mode is sort of its DeFi chain now, and they're going to be launching a whole bunch of others. But anyway, each of these chains has their own identity, which I think allows them to create a narrative that fits for them. And even, I FUD Salon all the time, but maybe they're the DGen gambling chain. They're really good at that because in the real world, gambling makes billions and billions and billions of dollars.
It's a huge business.
So maybe that's what they do.
It's the world's greatest casino. It truly is. All my friends who sports bet, I tell stop sports betting because the platforms can basically determine when to stop you out. Like sometimes you want to exit because the odds changed because the team you bet on to win just scored so that you could cash out for $30 instead of put the whole 100 on the line. But sometimes they just block you from doing that. with like crypto perps, if you're gambling too, you can play stop losses. You have much more tighter control over everything. But whatever. But gambling, you're right, huge business, and I think that's fine.
But this gaming thing is, you know, I don't know if I'll be the biggest user, but I like to see these things finding their home in the ecosystem, in the macroscopic ecosystem.
What about Atari? Atari building on base also. Bullish base gaming. Apparently.
I did not even know Atari existed anymore.
Yeah.
But that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. Base looks to be strong in terms of gaming. Obviously, we knew Base was going to be a powerhouse.
Yep.
I think we'll see if they launch a token at some point, but that token would be huge. I would buy that. I haven't been a power user, so I don't think my airdrop would be significant, but something to pay attention to. Last thing, apparently there's like a meme coin on Base, which like minters of a Coinbase NFT, a commemorative NFT, got airdropped tokens from Coinbase, I guess, which surprised me because I feel like they'd be under scrutiny, but I don't know all the details, but it's called Based, BASED, and it's a meme coin on Coinbase. When the market recovers, I bet that thing moons. I probably won't buy it, but I bet it moons. It just will.
Probably.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see.
Hey,
but
before we move on, I have a question for you that's not in our notes.
What?
Your former big boss went nutso this week and retired or resigned from Masari. Like, what's up with that?
I'm not there. I don't know. He seems to be. Yeah, he seems to be. He was very focused on, even when I was there, on the political aspects of crypto. So he was trying to push it forward in Washington, and like that's great. That helps. But then all this other stuff happened. It seemed that he was more focused on in politics than running the company. They seem to be doing fine, but as he said, I'm not there anymore. But yes,
it was very strange. Very strange. All right, continue. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Next, Pudgy Penguins and Peter Thiel. I actually don't know what happened here. Did he
invested $11 million.
Peter Thiel invested $11 million in Pudgy Penguins?
All right, he led an 11.
Keep going.
Yeah, you can read it on the screen. He led the funding round.
And you were fudding the Pudgy Penguins.
I know.
You were wrong.
I said I'm starting to like the little penguins.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I'm not paying 10 ETH for a JPEG.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't understand its use case yet, so I'm not doing that.
They literally have revenue from real world things.
I know, I understand.
It's fine. I'm bullish Pudgies. Okay. If I had space in my portfolio, I'd get one. But whatever. This is sick because Peter Thiel is Peter Thiel, and he's investing in Pudgy Penguins. And as it builds a new layer 2 blockchain, now there's another chain I'm bullish on is ZK Sync. Remember, everyone was pissed off because of the airdrop, but like they got good tech. And as Vitalik says, ZK is the future, and I think they're doing great stuff and have a really strong team, strong partnerships. Pudgy Penguins is one example. So bullish on ZK Sync as well, and I think
they're building that on ZK Sync.
Yes.
Oh.
It's going to be a hyperchain.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
So very cool.
Glad I didn't sell my tokens.
This is okay. I'll link also. I did a whole article on the Pudgy Penguins, their abstract chain, and it's a consumer-focused L2 blockchain. It was in the newsletter, so check that out. Super bullish. Like, who knows what... Yeah, here we go. Vice President, Network, ZK Sync, Developer Matter Labs. Yeah.
Nice.
So, very cool. Really excited about that. Bullish Pudgies, bullish ZK Sync, bullish Peter Thiel.
All right.
Okay.
What's next?
Next up, that was most of it. What's this last one you put in here?
You can ignore that. One thing I do want to talk about that's on there somewhere is... I don't remember in my 56-year life in the 10 presidential elections a time when all 3 candidates went to a non-political conference at the same time.
Kamala's not going.
Oh.
She stopped. But she was going to.
Yeah.
The point stands. Keep going.
Yeah. To basically give their platform to the users of that platform in a essentially startup area. This isn't finance. This isn't gun rights. This isn't reproductive rights. This is not immigration.
Yeah,
it's not even just tech. It's a part of tech, subset of tech that's been around less than 15 years.
Yeah,
and they're going there, or they wanted to go there to make that happen. And maybe this is the end of Luddite culture. Maybe this is the end of where you have to have some tech savvy if you're going to be in the political world. And I think that's generally a good thing. We need to have smart people that understand tech, leading these economies and countries.
100%. I think that's pretty obvious to anyone in tech, but like the extent to which it's a big deal isn't widely understood, and I think it's a huge deal. And keep innovation here, keep the most talented people in the world building the future of financial infrastructure, the future of AI infrastructure, all of that here, and I think it's great. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
So think about this macroscopically as well. The U.S. at this point, I believe, leads the world in AI development. It's here. And AI is the next phase of productivity growth. At the same time, crypto has now a comfortable home in the U.S. where it can keep growing. So at least in the U.S. and the Western economies, you have these two incredible drivers historically of economic growth at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that's happened to this level before, which, who knows what that means, but that I think is an incredible thing. And I hope these politicians on both sides of the aisle, who kind of both now saying reasonable stuff, carries forward.
100%. Yeah, I think people always say that crypto's in like a very good spot, just game theoretically, because like you can't really squash it, you can't shut it down, and the people who do adopt it are going to get an advantage from the technology, from the tech people, from the people with money in the space. So it kind of forces the other people's hand to also be kind to it, because it's just unreasonable to not be. It really embodies American values in terms of like tech, in terms of sovereignty, in terms of freedom, and it's kind of just the driving force that won't go away. So crypto.
Absolutely.
But last thing here, internet versus crypto adoption chart. Just putting this out there. I remember my first newsletter, the banner for it, the preview little image was it was a newsletter.
Make that bigger.
I could try, but it was
there you go.
It was a newsletter from like 2002 or something after the bubble crash, and it said, "Internet is nothing but a passing fad as millions give up on it." And that's the internet. That's what they said in 2002, and that obviously was not the case. And whenever you look at the adoption rate of crypto versus the internet, crypto's actually ahead in terms of adoption. If you start at the starting point at zero and go from there, crypto's ahead of where the internet was. That's some context. You say it's hard to use. Yes, that's all true, but the adoption is greater right now.
So back at the beginning of the internet, which I was around for, there were no search engines. You literally, the only way you could get around is randomly clicking the links.
Netscape. And
this was before Netscape.
Okay.
You clicked the links in the websites you knew about. And crypto has a head start there, so it doesn't surprise me it's ahead. Now, the money part kind of makes it a little different, but that's it's a technology.
Yeah.
It reinforces its technology.
It definitely helps that crypto has the internet as like its bootstrapping mechanism. Like all of these infrastructure that we have in terms of communication, in terms of all these other things, how people can learn about it is much greater for us because we have the internet. So that's also another factor, but still interesting statistic.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Anything else you wanted to bring up? Oh, one last thing. Not really crypto, but I saw all of the billionaire tech VCs fighting on Twitter, which I thought was funny. So if you want to check that out, go look at that.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. Someone said like, "Oh, just a bunch of rich guys fighting on the internet." That's basically what's happening. So I thought that was funny.
I don't have anything else, bud. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. This was a quick one. Like we said, we were traveling. I think we kind of packed a lot in there, though. I thought it was a good one.
Yeah, I do too. I thought it was like snappy.
Yeah,
snappy.
It was snappy. We covered what we wanted to cover. It was good.
And this will be out again on the YouTube channel, which you're looking at it on. But also, don't forget about the podcast. Tell your friends. We've got some advertisers now, so click on those links. Support our advertisers. One, is it a wine company?
Yeah, Vino Vest. You wanted to shout them out. We're not getting paid for this shout out, actually, just in the newsletter. But Vino Vest is great. They let you invest in whiskey and wine, which historically have been good investments. Like it returns
whiskey too.
Yeah, whiskey and wine.
I didn't know that.
So there you go. Yeah, I don't know if you probably can't drink it. It's just an investment, but it'd be cool if you could like redeem your shares, like an ETF, redeem your Vino Vest whiskey shares and get like a
little
proportional amount. They pour it in a glass and you can drink your whiskey.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, Vino Vest, check them out. Also, unofficial sponsors, Olipop.
Hit us up, Olipop.
Olipop right here. And True Brand, based right here in Texas, the heart of Texas, unofficial sponsor. Inkwell Coffee in Bloomington, Indiana, another unofficial sponsor. Do we have anybody else?
Any other sponsors?
We don't need any money. We're happy to shout you guys out. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Capitalists, stay well out there.
Yep, internet capitalists. Stay tuned also. Yeah, check out the newsletter. You'll see these ads, but you'll also see like a big announcement coming out. We're doing some really cool work for some people, so we want to share that soon.
Yeah. All right, gents. See you next week.
Peace.